What I want to do now is the Carroll H. Dunn Award of Excellence presentation. And this was established in 1985 by CII, and it's the highest honor CII bestows on an individual. It's also become one of the most recognized and prestigious awards in the capital projects industry. The original recipient of the Carroll H. Dunn Award was Lieutenant General Carroll H. Dunn himself, who was in the U.S. Army, and he had successful careers in the Corps of Engineers and both in the public and private sectors in the engineering construction industry. So the purpose of the award is really to recognize an individual who's had singular and notable responsibility for significantly advancing the entire construction industry. And I think that's really the main point of this award, is that the individual winners of the Carroll Dunn Award, they're noted for really moving our industry forward. So the criteria for selection is significant contribution to the construction industry, demonstration of the highest degree of personal dedication to improving the cost, schedule, quality, safety of the capital facilities delivery process, a level of knowledge and breadth of experience that distinguish the recipient as an eminent authority, a leadership position within the engineering construction industry from which others can be influenced by their example and their direction. And I think the award winner tonight is providing an extremely good example for all of us. I was particularly taken with Anne Marie's comments earlier today about that. She was talking about the Executive Leader Program and how much it had done for her career, but she also said how much it had done for her personally within her family and in her volunteer activities. And I thought, you know, that's really what this is about. You know, we're here to improve our businesses, the employees in our companies, and those things, but also our families, our friends, our community, through our volunteer activities. So, and then finally, a record of accomplishment that brings added distinction to the recipient, the organizations with which he or she has been associated, and the industry at large. And let me just, I would say in this particular case, there's some additional things here for our recipient tonight, Dr. Bernard Armadei. And he's worked within the engineering and construction industry to advance the lives of people in society. And so when we think about what we're doing to advance the industry, it's even going beyond that. It's using the industry to improve the lives of people. And most of the talks that I give, I always start by saying I'm so passionate about the engineering construction business because I believe it's the most noble business on the planet. And civilization is the result of our industry. And you can't educate anybody, you cannot heal somebody in a hospital, you can't transport anybody without a construction project. That's what it takes to move society forward. And in the case of Dr. Armadei, he's using Engineer for Peace, Engineer for advancing rural communities and people who really many times have almost nothing. And that's ultimately doing society just a tremendous service. So we're fortunate to have been awarding this Carroll H. Dunn Award since 1985. So as you can guess, there are 31, well, roughly 30 winners of this award, and I'll go through them quickly. This is, you can just read them on the slide, but going from the very beginning and then moving forward, we're really fortunate to have two Carroll Dunn Award winners with us tonight. Let me get to their pictures here. So the first one is Dr. Dan Halpin from Purdue University, and the other is Craig Martin from Jacobs that you heard speak earlier today. So if I could have Dan and Craig please stand up. So we also have a video about Engineers Without Borders, and I'd like to show that to you now. And of course, Dr. Armadei was extremely instrumental in starting Engineers Without Borders, and so it's appropriate to show you just a little bit about what they do.
A contaminated water supply. a treacherous bridge, unreliable electricity. For millions of people around the world, these are daily realities. Lack of proper infrastructure keeps them from living healthy, productive lives. But what if we harnessed engineers' capabilities to build a better world? That's what Engineers Without Borders USA does. Let us show you how. Maria's small rural community in Nicaragua identifies a problem. Their only water source is contaminated. So Maria and her neighbors reach out to EWB USA for our engineering expertise. We equip our volunteers to engineer a water solution alongside the community. Together, the volunteers, community members, and in-country partners lay out a plan that will provide a sustainable source of drinking water long after our commitment is fulfilled. In the end, Maria's village has a new water supply that is community-initiated, community-driven, and community-maintained. And EWB USA's volunteers learn how to apply their skills to solve some of humanity's most pressing challenges. Our mission to build a better world is ambitious, but achievable. Everyone can engineer change, including you. Join us.
So just a little bit of an introduction to Engineer Without Borders, and let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Bernard Armadei. He's currently a professor of civil engineering at the University of Colorado at Boulder. He received his PhD from the University of California at Berkeley in 1982, and he currently holds the Mortensen Endowed Chair in Global Engineering, and he serves as the faculty co-director of the Mortensen Center in Engineering for Developing Countries. He's the founder of Engineers Without Borders USA, and he's the co-founder of the Engineers Without Borders International Network. The organization, as you saw, is really changing the world through, in many cases, fairly small engineering projects, but just because they're small doesn't mean that they're not incredibly significant to the lives of the communities in order to meet their needs. And along the way, this process really enriches the lives of the engineers who are involved in these projects. He was telling us tonight that really this is a bit of a bridge of peace, because even though there's some politicians that may have their disagreements, at some level an engineer's got to come in and just get it done, and without any of the political baggage that comes along with it. And so I think that's pretty amazing in order to advance society. So there's a lot of support from generous and skilled partners and engineers. There's a lot of companies, and I know certainly a lot of the CII member companies are involved with Engineers Without Borders, and certainly a lot of your employees are. But they're providing an incredibly valuable service in many, many countries around the world. He has a quote. He said, and he said this earlier, as we enter the first half of the 21st century, the engineering profession must embrace a new mission statement, and that is to contribute to the building of a more sustainable, stable, and equitable world. Global citizen engineers are called to operate in a multicultural world in which they deliver solutions that are done right from a technical point of view, are the right solutions for the planet and its people, and are developed for the right reasons. So among some other distinctions, he's in 2007 the co-recipient of the Heinz Award for the Environment. He received the 2008 ENR Award of Excellence. He's 2015 Washington and ASCE Opal Award winner. He's a member of the National Academy of Engineering. Well, he's done a lot. So, but it really, he's been the science envoy to Nepal and Pakistan for the U.S. Department of State. So internationally recognized for all that he's done, and I can think of really nobody more deserving at this point of this amazing award, the Carroll H. Dunn Award of Excellence, than Dr. Bernard Armadei. So it's with great pleasure that CII awards this to him, and I'll ask Dr. Armadei to come up here at this time.
I'll say a few words. Thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you so much, CII, for giving me this great honor tonight of receiving the Carroll H. Dunn Award from CII. It's really a great honor. Thank you so much. It's the second time around that I'm addressing the CII community. The last time was in Colorado in 2008. I don't know if some of you were there. At that time, I also got a standing ovation. I think you guys are chronically doing that all the time, right? You're always doing standing ovation each time I show up on the podium. But that time was interesting because I was coming back from Afghanistan, from Kabul, the night before. And I was really on a heavy jet lag, and I was supposed to give a keynote lecture at your conference in Keystone at the time. And I had a root canal in the afternoon. Now, imagine going to the dentist at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and he gives you a root canal, and you ask the dentist, well, how am I going to feel at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock when I give a keynote lecture? He had no clue. The bottom line is that it was a good thing because the program got later and later and later, and I say, thank God. I mean, they're getting late, and so by the time I stood on the podium, I felt good. So that's so today I just returned from another trip too. In fact, that's what I do for a living. But I don't have a tooth problem, so that's a good thing. I have other problems, but not a tooth problem. A little bit about Engineers Without Borders. As you have seen, an interesting video about what we do. Engineers Without Borders was created within my backyard in 1997, 2000. And for some of you, you know the entire story. You can find it online. But then it really started in a small village in Belize, where our job was to bring water, essentially, to find a pumping, to develop a pumping, design a pumping and system and build it to bring water from the river to the village so the little girls could go to school. That project really changed my life because I said, well, that's pretty cool. Doing small-scale community development projects, I had never thought about that. And when I presented that to the students at the University of Colorado, they all were fired up. You know, as I mentioned in several lectures, I had 5 students, 10 students, 15 students, 20 students in my office, all interested in helping on that project. Now, that's rare when you have 15 students in your office on a daily basis, especially when you teach statics or dynamics or strengths of materials. But that I knew I was doing something different. I had no clue of what I was doing, and I still don't know what still have no clue about what I'm doing. The beauty about being a rogue individual in life. But then students really dragged me into it, and when I asked them, why are you so interested in Engineers Without Borders? And the answer was, we are sick and tired of doing those problems at the end of chapter 5. And I told them, well, I'm sick and tired of grading them. So we had a win-win there. Few people talk about win-win-win-win. And it was really the start of Engineers Without Borders, and now we have about 16,000 members across the United States. About 45% are professional engineers, and 55% are student engineers who become professional engineers. All our teams work in developing countries. We are in 48 different countries around the world. We have about 600 projects. Our project cut across various disciplines: water, wastewater. Water is number 1, number 2, number 3 on the planet. You know, when you have water, you have wastewater. You also have to worry about that. Energy, without energy, water stays at the bottom of the well. I keep telling people that. And shelter and construction and roads and so on and so forth. So our projects are small scale. We are pico projects compared to the Uber, super Uber, mega projects we heard about this morning. We have 4 to 5 billion customers whose job is to try to stay alive by the end of the day, who need water, energy, food, shelter, telecommunication, health, like you and me. They cannot pay for those services, but one of the things we do is to work in partnership with communities so that they can solve their own problems. Part of our work is also dealing with creating entrepreneurship, is getting people out of poverty through entrepreneurship. It's not it's not giving people a fish, it's not teaching them how to fish, it's creating a fishing industry and creating a market for the fish. So we look at the entire spectrum. Engineers Without Borders is based in Denver, Colorado. We have 25 people on staff today, an executive director. I don't do the projects myself. My interest right now is on peace engineering. In fact, next week I was supposed to go to Gaza. I'm doing some work right now with Palestinian engineers, Israeli engineers, and Gaza engineers. As Steve mentioned, you may not realize it, but engineers are great peacemakers if they want to be peacemakers. If you look at the case of Gaza, Palestine, and Israel, water does not know of borders. Water transboundary issues are really big around the world. Water is without borders. Air pollution is without borders. Stupidity is also without borders. I can tell you that. But I don't know if you realize when, for us engineers, we are nerds. I mean, there's no doubt that we are nerdy people. And when nerdy people get together, they could care less about political nonsense. So put some Israeli engineers next to Palestinian engineers and Gaza engineers. They have a field day in solving real problems. I'm helping colleagues at Philadelphia, at Drexel University. They are starting a new master's degree in peace engineering. Imagine that. Can we create a peace industrial complex? Why not? Where people make more money than in the military industrial complex. Why not? The military industrial complex started 100 years ago. Well, it's about time to create a peace industrial complex where you can make more money. Think about it. And as engineers, we can do it. And Engineers Without Borders is just one drop of water into a big bucket of peace. I do believe so. And all of us are called to be peacemakers. And as engineers, we build things. We construct things. We bring communities together. Wow, that's fantastic. And then so it's about time that all of us call ourselves peacemakers. And I hope that CII has a chance to get involved in those projects. What we need the most, as Steve mentioned, they are small-scale projects, but they are good projects. All our projects are sanctioned by professional engineers. When you have a team of students working with professional engineers, the professional engineers put their stamps on those projects. It's not because people are poor in the middle of Africa that they should not have, good projects. They have to have good projects. All our projects are well done. But what we are lacking the most are best practices. I hear, today I heard a lot of best practices and best practices and best practices for the developed world. 2 billion customers. What about the other 4 to 5 billion customers on our planet? What are the best practices for decentralized wastewater treatment system or energy production systems in Africa? We don't have them. And what I'm talking about here is not charity. It is development. It is engineering. But it's engineering with soul. It's engineering with a heart. It's engineering that combines the heart and the top 3 inches of the head. So we are all called to be peacemakers. If you're interested in being part of Engineers Without Borders, contact me. I'll be glad to give you some additional information. We have quite a few companies that are essentially sponsors and supporting of Engineers Without Borders. Why are they sponsors? Well, because we create leaders. The young people who go through our projects when they graduate, they have been exposed to some real projects in real difficult conditions. Believe me, doing engineering in the middle of Africa in a small village is tough. And you learn a lot. Engineering schools are doing a miserable job at educating young people today. And my colleague, Bud Ahern, has a quote. They say, engineering education is too important to be left in the hands of faculty members. And I agree, and Engineers Without Borders essentially provides a way for young people to do real engineering during their 4 years of college, and you guys want to hire those young people because they are leaders. Thank you so much, and again, thank you for giving me this great award.